and welcome to this second video on co-production. So we've already looked at co-production as a conversation starter, so trying to understand it, what's involved within it, and unpacking the ingredients. And this one today is around co-production within an engagement framework. So where does it fit? And I like to think of engagement as a toolbox, and within the toolbox there's a number of different tools that you can use at any one point. And co-production is probably the gold standard for within engagement. So it's kind of right at the top of the scale, top of the ladder, if you like. But it's important to be honest around co-production. It is not always possible to co-produce things. So sometimes things have already been co-produced at a national level, perhaps, and been handed down as a set program or a framework for you to deliver at a local level. Sometimes you just haven't got the time, you haven't got the resources, you haven't got the buy-in from other partners or the people that are receiving support from you to be able to do this. So co-production is not a stick to beat people with. Basically, if you're doing engagement, that's brilliant. Take a look at where it fits within the toolkit, and hopefully this will encourage you to move up the ladder or up the scale towards co-production, even if you never hit co-production fully yourself. But before we look at the engagement toolkit, it's important to recognise that there's different levels of where co-production can happen. So let's just take a quick look at those. So obviously on an individual and a family level, it's important to co-produce, I would say, as often as possible. So this could be an education healthcare plan, it could be an early help assessment, it could be all kinds of things where you as a practitioner or members of your team as practitioners are working directly with individuals and families to design and create a bespoke plan of support around them. Always, always, always best to involve that family in those things. That's why we have things like team around the child, team around the family, so that those things can be done together with all the right professionals as well, hopefully, to make it work as well as we can do. You've then got a kind of a collective level. So this is more challenging, it's more difficult. We've got a local example where family hubs in Staffordshire are being developed, particularly the quality framework, in line with the co-production promise that we've created in Staffordshire. And of course, you can't involve every family across the area in that, but it is important that those who are actually receiving the support from that area of work, so family hubs potentially, have an opportunity to have a voice in as to how that support is being received. How could it be better, and influencing that. At a strategic level, co-production is even harder and takes even longer. The co-production promise that we were involved in facilitating has took nearly 18 months from beginning to end. So you can imagine that a complete strategy or change of direction in terms of a service could take an awful long time. And again, it's impossible to involve every family around that. And a lot of those families or the people that are receiving support won't have an interest. They'll only have an interest in their own plan, their personal plan, their experience of the support that is being given to them. But this is where things like parent carer forums or youth voice forums or advocates can become involved, because they can represent that voice and bring it in at a strategic level. So bearing that in mind and recognising that we need to be realistic about co-production and not set ourselves up to fail or beat each other up about it, how does co-production and where does co-production fit in the wider engagement toolkit? And I'm going to show you three different models here, which hopefully will help tease out some of your questions and some of your thoughts around it. So firstly, and this goes back to my youth work days, so Roger Hart's ladder of participation, and this described how much involvement young people had in the services that were being provided for them. So you can see at the bottom that everything was adult-led, and the young people were just doing what they were directed to do without really understanding any purpose of what was going on. And then you move up the ladder through things like tokenism, You can move through consultation there at rung 5, which is, can be useful at times, particularly where you don't have a lot of time. But it's often important that you let people know how much influence and how much ability to change stuff they have, so that we keep it meaningful and honest. And then right the way towards the top, and I would say rung 8, youth initiated shared decisions with adults. That would be the equivalent of co-production in this model. And so you can see how you can progress through these. And the biggest probably element involved in the difference between rung 1 and rung 8 is how much power are the adults willing to share, or those providing the services willing to share in this instance. The second model that we'll look at is an NHS model, so it's called Start With People. And this talks about 5 stages or 5 different ways of engagement. So you've got the inform, so literally you're just passing information straight to people. You're consulting, so you're getting opinions on things, or you might be presenting 1 or 2 options and getting them to make a choice. Engaging is obviously much more about listening to people, trying to understand issues, but very often in some of our engagement we have a predetermined outcome, so that can be a challenge. Co-design, which is getting people involved in with their ideas in designing the final approach to things, or the final what things look like for them. And then you move up to co-production, which is that equal partnership where people with the lived and learnt experience work together with those who are providing services from start to finish. So again, you'll probably get a resonance there with our local definition around those who provide services and support, with those who receive them, working together from start to finish. So lots of resonance there in terms of what co-production means. The third engagement ladder is a specific co-production ladder, and again you'll see a resonance between this and the first 2 models. So you've got something that sounds quite harsh at the bottom, coercion, but basically people are made to attend things. They're passive recipients. They're not really considered to be important or taken into account. Then you've got the information education bit, you've got the consultation and engagement again, and co-design through to co-production. And in this instance, they describe co-production as an equal relationship between people who use services and the people responsible for services, that they work together from design to delivery, sharing the strategic decision making about policies, as well as decisions about the best way to deliver services. So again, very much resonance with our local approach and our local definition here in Staffordshire and in Stoke-on-Trent. So we've looked at the 3 tools which help us to understand how we can move up a ladder of engagement or participation, and where we can improve what we do to push towards the full approach around co-production. And so it might be worth thinking about where on the ladder you are. Where do you think your current practice lies? What's one thing that you could do to improve that? Would it be letting go of some power, or increasing the scope of influence of other people on the service that you deliver? And maybe you'd like to develop just one kind of area of your work where you actually think, I'm going to try co-production in this area. I'm not going to try everything, but I'm going to identify one area in which to practice my co-production approach. And finally, just say thank you for watching this video. If you've got any questions or feedback on it, do let me know. There's my email there. If you found it valuable, again, share it with your colleagues. And if you're practicing co-production and you need support, or if you want to let us know how you're getting on, we'd love to share that story with other people. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you very soon for another video around co-production.